Hey everyone, welcome to my safe and easy guide for how to complete Honor Mode on Divinity Original Sin 2. Some speedruns of this game on Honor Mode can be done in as little as about 17 minutes, which is absolutely insane. We're going to be using some of those tactics in order to get through the game quickly and efficiently. However, we won't be going that crazy with it. We're going to go at a nice, casual, and safe pace so that we'll complete the game very easily. Anyone will be able to do this, and it's only going to take us about 2 hours of time, which is pretty reasonable. The goal here is just to make a guide that everyone can follow and everyone can complete Honor Mode, the hardest difficulty of this game. So to get started, you want to make sure that you have at least one save slot available. So go into the load screen, and if you've used up all of your save slots, then press triangle to delete one of your save games, leaving one slot open. After that, we're going to go over to the single player option in the campaign mode, and we're going to then select tactician mode. From there, the choices will expand, and we want to choose honor mode from here. Failure is not an option. Raise the stakes by limiting the already highly challenging tactician mode to a single save game. If your entire party perishes, the save game is erased and your quest is well and truly over. Now we get a prompt that just says, do you really want to begin the game in Honor Mode? And because we do, we'll go ahead and get started with the character creation screen. We're going to choose Fane as our origin character. Having an undead character really comes in handy at certain points. And we want to set the build preset to the Knight. We're going to make him pretty much a Shadow Blade. However, when you start with a Knight, you begin with a certain item that we'll need soon. So make sure you choose the Knight. You can then select whatever appearance you want, and then we'll skip over preset to go over to the talent screen. We want to remove Opportunist, and in its place we're going to take Lone Wolf, a very powerful talent to begin the game with because we get numerous bonuses that make us very strong. Lone Wolf allows us to have 6 AP every turn in combat, which means we can either move very far or take a lot of actions every turn. Now if we look at our attribute points, we want to put all of our points into strength, raising it up to 16. Now onto combat abilities, we're going to remove the points from warfare as well as the points from two-handed, and in their place we're going to take polymorph as well as scoundrel. This will affect our starting skills, and we're going to start with some very powerful abilities. We can now briefly go back to the Attributes tab and put more points into Strength, raising that up to 18. Then we'll head over to the skills, and we want to take 3 skills in particular. We're going to grab Chameleon Cloak, as well as Adrenaline, and finally we'll take Backlash. Now let's take a look at our civil abilities. We want to remove the point from Bartering, and in its place we're going to take Telekinesis. Okay, let's summarize all of those choices on one screen. So starting off, we chose Fane as our origin character. Our preset is a Knight. The talent we chose is Lone Wolf. Our attribute points are all in Strength. Our combat abilities are in Scoundrel and Polymorph. Our civil ability is Telekinesis, and the skills that we chose were Chameleon Cloak, Adrenaline, and Backlash. Now that we have this exact setup, we can begin the game. We get a warning about playing as an undead character, but that's okay. Playing as undead is definitely worth it because the pros definitely outweigh the cons. And then we begin the game after a cinematic cutscene aboard the tutorial ship. Very few dialogue choices actually matter in this game, so for the most part you can just fly through every single dialogue choosing the first option, but I will point out if there is a special circumstance where you should choose a different dialogue option. But again, fly through these opening ones by choosing the first option, and then we'll begin by moving forward. The game auto-saves for us, and then we can head right up the ladder and leave the tutorial deck. Starting off, let's head over toward the west side of the room. We want to go behind the table and find a bottle rack against the wall. We can search it to find a jawless skull. We're going to pick this up and add it to our inventory. We can use that to try to craft a weapon later that will save us some trouble. Then we're going to proceed over toward the east side of the room. You can either talk to the Magister here or simply try to open the door, which will force the conversation. Choose Take Your Leave and we can be on our way. We'll keep heading over toward the east, going through the next door. Then we're going to stick over toward toward the right hand side at first to find a bedroll. This is a free source of healing for us that we can use as much as we want. There's also going to be a metal crate here against the wall. Let's pick it up and add it to our inventory. Then we're going to proceed over toward the north side, turn right and head over toward the east. We're going to make our way all the way down this hallway to the very end where there's a door with a red carpet. Let's talk to Magister Paid here, and we can choose the first option to tell him that we're fine. That will open the door and we can proceed on in. When you're an undead character, anyone who sees you will want to fight you, so if you go into your equipment screen and then unequip your headgear, Fane's Mask of the Shapeshifter, you will automatically be recognized as an undead, and the nearby enemies will try to attack you. There's no risk of Magister Wade being able to do enough damage on this first turn, so we can take that hit, and then we're going to run over to the character named Wendigo over toward the east, and we're going to attack her, which will automatically bypass all of her dialogue, and she'll instantly knock us down. Revealing ourselves as an undead saved us a little bit of time through that section, and it's going to have another benefit pretty soon. When we come to, we stand up, and then you want to press triangle to access your hotbar, and we're going to use the bedroll that we picked up. If you look at our health bar, we're a little bit low on health, but using this bedroll will fill us all the way back up to full health, and we can do this as often as we want to. We'll then search the chest with confiscated goods, and we're hoping to find a wand that can do air damage. It looks like a little lightning bolt symbol. That will be really cool if we find one here, but if not, there's other ways to get one. So whether you get it or not, it doesn't matter. Head on up the stairs to the next floor. Now we're going to move this water barrel on top of the fire. That will cause the barrel to explode and extinguish the fire. Now we can run through. We're going to stay over toward the left side of the room first, and we want to start moving some very heavy objects, starting with these large packages. If you pick them up, you'll become encumbered and have too much weight to carry to actually move around. So at this point, we're going to go into our inventory. If we press the R3 button or the right stick, we can then select multiple items at once, and we're going to put them inside of our handy dandy backpack. So select those packages as well as the metal crate, and then we're going to press square on the backpack and choose put into to put all of those heavy packages into the backpack. Then we're going to drop the backpack onto the ground. At that point we can find it on the world map, press square, choose move, and we can move it anywhere where the outline is white. We want to slowly move this backpack along this hallway over toward the west where we can see a red flag on our mini-map. So just keep moving it incrementally forward. Eventually, as we level up our telekinesis skill more, we'll be able to send this thing further and further away, and that's a really cool way to save some time later on. We also want to grab this other nearby package, and we're going to keep moving this heavy backpack over. As long as we're only holding that one package, we can move normally. We just can't pick up the backpack or we'll be over encumbered. So let's move this backpack all the way up next to the stairs, and then we want to move that package from our inventory onto the ground. So we'll select throw item, and we can just set it over to the side here next to the stairs. So now our package and our heavy backpack is on the ground right next to the stairs. We'll go back the way we came a bit, and then we're going to pick up this chest and add it to our inventory. We're then going to go up the nearby stairs over toward the left and against this pillar. We can then press L3 to highlight the cursor, and then we're going to select Magister Priest Medwin, and we're going to loot the skull-marked key off of his body, which we can do thanks to our telekinesis skill. We then want to stand in this corner, and we're going to press the up directional button to get the overhead view. From here, we're going to go into our inventory, select the chest that we picked up a minute ago, and we're going to choose throw item. You can rotate it a bit with L1 and R1, and we want to put it down when its outline is white so that it's clipping through Fane's character model. When the game developers were making this game, they decided that having a character get stuck in the world is a bad idea, so they invented a way to allow us to pass through objects if necessary. By boxing Fane in with his chest, essentially connecting the door to the packages and crates on our left, we've now taught the game that there's a thick wall here and a thick wall here, so the only remedy is to allow Fane to go through the thinner wall, which is through this wall right here. And now we can access this room, which normally would be inaccessible without the skull-marked key. We'll then head down to the bottom part here, and we're going to pick up one of these Death Fog barrels to add it to our inventory. We're then going to take these Death Fog barrels and start moving them across the room. We'll move it a little bit over toward the south, then move it up on top of the Death Fog crates nearby. This room technically doesn't have a ceiling, which allows us to move the Death Fog barrel to the top of the stairs nearby. You just want to make sure that the outline is in white and move it all the way over toward the left as far as you can. After that, we're going to move this Death Fog barrel over on top of the Death Fog crates, just like the first one. And then from here, we're going to move it on top of the stairs next to its friend. Okay, now let's make our way over to the skull-marked door that we didn't use before. We can then use the skull-marked key to go through it, and we're going to make our way out of this room. We're then going to head back over toward the south side of this room, and then we're going to go over to the stairs. We're not going to use the stairs right now, instead we're going to stand right next to them. We're then going to use our telekinesis to pick up those two Death Fog barrels and put them into our inventory. We're then going to grab that package and add it to our inventory, and finally we'll pick up the backpack and all of its contents. So now that we're carrying all of that heavy stuff, let's go into our inventory. Once again, we're going to press the R3 button for the multi-select, and we're going to select the Death Fog barrels and the package that we have, and we're going to add them all into our backpack so that we only have one item that contains all of that weight. We are carrying way too much weight to actually move, but that doesn't matter as long as we're standing right next to the stairs. We can use them to head on up. Now, because we're undead and we're not wearing a mask, the Magister Knight instantly gets into a combat with us, but he dies, and that gets us a free 100 experience points that we otherwise wouldn't have gotten. We don't want to fight these enemies. Instead, we'll press triangle to access the hotbar, then we'll go over to the Firestorm grenade that we have because we chose the Knight preset. We'll then go all the way over toward the north side of the ship. We can kind of go around the stairs here, and we can aim it at the boat. If we hit the two characters on the boat with this Firestorm grenade, that's going to cause this section to automatically end. We'll get 800 experience, and then we'll move up from the ship to the Fort Joy area and be officially in Act 1. Also, while we're knocked down, the enemies can't touch us, so we're totally safe and don't take any damage at all. Congratulations on making it through the tutorial ship, and now we're officially in Act 1. Let's go ahead and open up our menu. We want to choose waypoints, and we're going to select the Fort Joy Beach waypoint to teleport a very short distance away. From here, we're going to go into our inventory, and we want to choose drop item on our backpack. That'll put it on the ground right here, and now if we ever need it again, we just have to teleport back to this waypoint. Now let's head a little bit toward the west and then toward the south, and we can find a short stick on the ground. We want to pick this up and add it into our inventory. Let's go into our inventory. We then want to select either the jawless skull or the short stick and choose combine with to put those two items together, the jawless skull and the short stick. Once you craft it, you'll get an improvised wand. Now, there's a few different wands you can get here. Ideally, you'll get one that can do air damage. I got one that can do water damage. It's fine, we can get another air staff another way. So either you'll get one in the chest of confiscated goods, you'll create one here, or you'll simply have to purchase one or find one later on. Let's continue traveling south along the path, and eventually Sir Lore will come up to us. From here, we're going to shoo him away, and then we're going to say, yes, dismiss the squirrel. We'll take the path that branches off toward the right, and we can see a yellow dot on the minimap. That's the Red Prince, and we want to go and add him into our party. Now we've got to go through nearly 40 lines of dialogue to get to that point where we can recruit him, so fly through that and then slow down once you get to about 35 lines of dialogue, then move slowly, and then you want to choose the third option, say you're interested in someone with a little finesse, and then choose the third option again to make him into a Shadow Blade. Doing this will allow him to start with the skills as well as an item that we want. And that item is the starting weapon, the Shiv. So we're going to go into our inventory. We want to then go over toward the right side to access the Red Prince's inventory, and we're going to select that backpack and drop it onto the ground. That way we don't have any confusion later on with which backpack to use. After that, we're going to go into our equipment. We'll switch it over to the Red Prince, and then we want to go down to his weapon, and we're going to unequip this weapon or just simply send it to Fane. Now we'll go over to Fane. We want to select the weapon and give him the shiv that we just took off of the Red Prince. That allows him to backstab and do bonus damage when he attacks an enemy from the back. Let's separate Fane and the Red Prince, and then as the Red Prince, we're going to go to the Fort Joy Beach waypoint. That backpack is way too heavy for the Red Prince to normally pick up, but instead we can add it to our inventory by selecting Hold in Hand. Now we're going to go into our inventory and then select that backpack and now choose Empty Hand. That adds it into his inventory, kind of a neat workaround for being too weak. Then we'll head back over to Fane and we want to start traveling over toward the south. Eventually we'll have the black cat run across our path. It doesn't matter whether that cat lives or dies in this playthrough.
Oh, hello, small.
Let's keep traveling along the path down toward the south, and eventually you're going to see a lot of yellow dots start to pop up over toward the south. You do not want to go over to those dots, so stay over toward the right hand side, and before you go up the ladder on the right, you want to go into your equipment and add the tattered cowl onto your head. That way the enemies won't attack you when you get too close. From here, we're going to go up the ladder over on our right, and that will take us to this upper platform. We can then head around the corner, and we want to use the ladder nearby to go down a level. We'll make our way around the corner and down the stairs, and we want to start moving over toward the southeast. There's a waypoint over here by these burning fires, so get close enough to activate them, and then keep going further past this large statue in the waypoint. We want to continue on down toward the south, go into the building, down the stairs, and in front of us we can see a hatch to the arena. Let's use it to go down, and we're going to get a level up thanks to all the experience we gained. Then we can just come right back up the ladder and we'll be back inside the building. From here we want to go into the character screen and we want to assign some attribute points. So starting off we want to go over to the civil abilities and we're going to add a point into telekinesis. After that we'll go to combat abilities. We'll scroll down and we want to put more points into Scoundrel. Finally, we'll go to attributes and we want to put points into wits. So we're going to raise wits up to 12 and then the rest of the points go into strength. So strength is at 20, wits is at 12. That one level up and the associated attribute points that we just assigned is going to make all the difference in surviving this next fight. So let's begin by heading over toward the west. We want to go through this main camp and then continue west until we get out onto the beach. From here, we'll turn toward the right and we'll start heading up toward the north. The game is going to autosave, and then we'll keep making our way north and we're going to see some saltwater crocodiles roaming around in this area. Now we want to be very strategic in how we approach this fight in order to maximize our chances of survival. To begin, we're going to use our skill Chameleon Cloak to turn us invisible. After that, we're going to run forward and we want to get right in between all three of these crocodiles. So run right into the middle and then stop. It's at about this time that your Chameleon Cloak is going to wear off, the enemies will spot us and we'll be in a fight. Now we'll switch over to the Red Prince and we want to send our heavy backpack over to Fane. We'll then switch back over to Fane, we'll be in his inventory, we want to select that backpack and we'll choose to throw it. Having that extra point in telekinesis allows us to move this thing pretty far. We want to get this object to move within the character model of the saltwater crocodile. So select move and then try to get it so that it's highlighted in white, and then you're going to put it inside the character's model. Usually a leg is a good bet for that. We then want to move it over toward the next crocodile. If you can't move it all the way, then move it incrementally. So we'll move it about halfway over as far as it can go, and then we'll move it the rest of the way. Again, try to get it to be highlighted in white and inside the character model, and you'll be able to kill the saltwater crocodile once it lands. It might take a bit of finagling and careful aiming, but just take your time, line up your shot, and drop that item on top of it, and it will die. We're getting pretty low on AP at this point, but we're going to move this item about halfway over toward the next crocodile because it's not in range. That will leave us with 1 AP. Now you don't want to move it the rest of the way with 1 AP because if we miss, then that saltwater crocodile could easily kill us. So instead we're going to use our adrenaline skill to give us more AP. This will give us a couple chances to hit it. So now let's move this backpack over to where the saltwater crocodile is. We'll line it up with a character model and try to stomp it, and that will be the end of the fight. After that, we'll head over to the saltwater crocodile furthest toward the north, and we should be able to find the gloves of teleportation on it. We want to loot those, and we're going to equip them onto Fane. If you find that you miss the saltwater crocodiles and are at risk of running out of AP, then you definitely want to just reload that autosave that happened right before the fight and try it again. Before you leave, go and find the backpack that's near the last saltwater crocodile that you killed, and then pick it up and add it to your inventory. After that, go into your inventory and send it over to the Red Prince. This allows Fane to continue running at his normal speed. We then want to pick up this nearby oil barrel and add it into our inventory, then we'll keep going along the path. You'll see a couple of yellow dots on the minimap. As soon as you get past them, then you want to turn toward the left so that we can go back into the Fort Joy camp area, and you should see a large campfire in the middle of the area. As you run through this area toward the northeast, you'll be stopped by a man named Gowan. He's going to talk to you a little bit. Just keep choosing the first dialogue option. He's the one who wants us to get the gloves of teleportation that we already have, and he's going to give us 600 experience points and head off to a direction that we're going to go soon. And then as he runs away, we're going to head up toward the north, and there's going to be a water barrel up by the other barrels in the crate on the second level. So let's head on over here, and then we can highlight that water barrel, and we want to choose pick up to add it into our inventory. We're just collecting more weight for later on. Then we're going to head down this area over toward the southeast, and we want to head over toward where the waypoint is. Once we're in the middle of the main road, we'll turn toward the right and start running directly toward the south so that we can stop and wait right next to the waypoint. Here we're going to switch control over to the Red Prince. We're then going to use the waypoint menu to travel to the Fort Joy Square waypoint. Now from here we're going to go into our inventory, and we want to move that backpack that's very heavy from the Red Prince and send it over to Fane. From here, we're going to take the water barrel and then put it inside of that backpack, as well as any other heavy items that you might have acquired. From here, we're going to take the backpack and send it back over to the Red Prince for safekeeping. And finally, we'll switch our control back over to Fane and close the menu. From here, we're going to start heading directly up toward the north, and as soon as we go through the large gate, we're going to get a cutscene. You can just keep choosing the first dialogue option, and this conversation will end soon, and we'll get some free experience points. Bishop Alexander walks off, all the guards walk away, and finally Dallas walks away as well, accompanied by the 2 large guards. Once they're all out of the way, then we can proceed forward, and now we can go through this door whenever we want to. We want to head over toward the red flag up on our minimap. That kind of tells us the direction that Gowan was heading, and we're going to follow him to a secret location. Let's keep going up toward the northeast so that the red flag updates, and we want to go to the new red flag location on the minimap. Once we get there, we'll see Gowan is standing next to some vines. We can just go through the vines, and that will take us into a new area called Hidden Alcove. As we proceed forward, we'll see a poison barrel on the left-hand side. Let's go ahead and pick that up and add it to our inventory. Then we'll follow the trail over toward the right or over toward the east. If we go to the edge of the cliff, we can look toward the nearby waterfall and see a chest behind a rainbow. We can then use our teleportation skill, thanks to our gloves of teleportation, and we'll move that ornate chest over closer to us. From here, we can go ahead and open it up. You can take out whatever's inside of it, but ultimately you want to also pick this thing up and add it to your inventory. So press square, then choose pick up, and now it's ours to keep. Once again, it's time to choose the waypoints option to go to the Fort Joy Square to join the Red Prince. We're now going to select to control the Red Prince, and after that we're going to go into his inventory and we'll take that heavy backpack and send it over to Fane. Now I want to close our inventory, and as the Red Prince, we're going to continue forward. We're going to go down the stairs toward the north, then turn toward the right, and we're going to follow the path around toward the southeast. You'll see some stairs and some barricades and some guards. We're going to take the Red Prince and go up onto the platform on the left or on the north side of this area. We want to crouch down behind the Magister here, and we're going to pickpocket Magister Elise and take the large Divine Order key off of him. After that, we're going to go back down the ladder, and we want to sneak over close to this gate. From here, we're going to use the key that we got to unlock the gate, and then simply proceed forward, and we're going to go all the way toward the large door directly in front of us. You may just want to take it slow and walk all the way to the door, but if you do come out of hiding at this point, the guards probably won't see you. Even if they do, you can simply run inside and break combat. From here, we're going to proceed forward a little bit more, then turn left, and we should have enough wits to find a secret lever against the left wall. We can activate it and then go down the nearby door that opens. That gets us 800 free experience points. Now we'll head back up the ladder, and we'll proceed forward along the path as we go down toward the south, and we're going to keep running until we reach the stairs at the far end of this hallway. Once you get to the top of the stairs at the south end of the hallway, you don't want to go any further than this platform. Instead, you're going to want to use your Chameleon Cloak skill to turn yourself invisible, and then we're going to run forward past the Magisters in order to avoid combat. But be careful, because there are some spots of oil on the ground that will slow you down, so weave in between them as you head forward toward the south, and you're going to find a battered raft over here. Let's go ahead and use it. We're going to steal it, and we're going to then make our way out of Fort Joy. Upon escaping Fort Joy, we get tons of experience and we level up again. We then want to continue forward toward the north. We're going to go along this little trail, and we want to make our way all the way up to a nearby waypoint. Once you see some blood on the ground, turn toward the right and keep following the path. As you go past the shipwreck, stick toward the left-hand side when you're entering the Hollow Marshes, and you'll follow the path over toward the left. When you get to the top of this hill, you'll unlock the nearby waypoint that I mentioned. Now that we're standing next to the waypoint, we want to switch control back over to Fane. Let's take Fane to that new waypoint that we just discovered called Hollow Marshes Bridge. Now let's go into our inventory, and we're going to press the R3 button or the right stick so that we can do a multi-select. We'll select the backpack that's very heavy, as well as the poison barrel that we picked up a while ago. Then we're going to put them inside of the ornate chest. After that, we'll send the ornate chest and all of its heavy items over to the Red Prince, and the Red Prince should now be carrying over 1,000 pounds. Before we move on, we want to level Fane up, so we're going to go into the character menu. We've got 20 points into strength, that's good for now. We're going to put all of our attribute points into wits, that should raise it up to 16. We can lock in that option and then go over to combat abilities. We're going to put our points into scoundrel. After that, we'll go to talents, and we're going to give him the talent all skilled up to immediately give him 1 extra combat ability and 1 extra civil ability. For the civil ability, we're going to put another point into telekinesis, raising that to 3. And finally, combat abilities, we'll put another point into scoundrel, raising that up to 8. For your convenience, I listed those selections on the screen. Now that we're all done leveling up, we're going to do something that can be a little bit tricky and you want it to go well, so we're just going to do a quick safety save. Just in case something goes wrong, we can reload the save. When you're ready, then proceed down the path toward the south, the one that we just came up a moment ago. Stick toward the left-hand side and follow the path around, and you'll see a few yellow dots on the minimap. We want to approach those, and we'll be in a short conversation. Just keep choosing the first dialogue option, and you'll be in a fight. But thanks to our new wit score, we're able to go first, and we're going to start off by using Chameleon Cloak. Now that we're invisible, we're going to run away from these guys. Because we have a lot of points in Scoundrel now, we can actually run really far. So let's run straight past them, and we're going to aim for that source puddle on the ground that's glowing green. So keep running forward until you get close to that wooden platform with the green puddle on it. We weren't quite able to escape them, but they have no idea where we are, so they're just going to waste their turn, and then it's going to be Fane's turn again. Our goal for this section is to pick up the nearby barrels off the ground using our telekinesis skills before the pigs run into them and blow them up. And now because we have 5 points into telekinesis, we can actually pick these things up from pretty far away. Just be careful not to run into the traps on the ground. You want to stick over toward the left-hand side to go around them. After picking up the first ooze barrel using telekinesis, there's going to be another barrel of oil inside the tent over toward the right. So let's choose to pick that one up too, but be careful because as soon as the flaming pigs see you, they're going to start running around. So just make sure you're not standing in the river of oil, and then wait for a few seconds for that fire to extinguish, and then we can move forward and continue picking up that oil barrel. Okay, the fire's out, we can proceed forward and then pick up this oil barrel from a distance. There's also an ornate chest over here, let's pick that one up too. I can't pick up this ooze barrel yet because I'm just weighed down by too much weight right now, so in order to get around that, you're going to have to transfer some things over to the Red Prince. So go ahead and select all the things that you picked up, the ornate chest, the oil barrel, and the ooze barrel, and send them all over to the Red Prince. Now that we're lightened, we can move forward, and from a distance we can pick up this ooze barrel. There's also an oil barrel nearby. Now let's look up to the upper platform and we can grab this oil barrel before the pigs can see us. After that, we'll take the nearby ornate chest. That maxes out our weight, so we have to move some weight from Fane over to the Red Prince. We want to transfer the ooze barrel that we picked up, as well as both of the oil barrels. And once that's done, we're going to transfer the ornate chest as well. We're almost done picking up heavy things, so we'll press in the left stick to aim up this ramp, and then we can select the ooze barrel and pick it up. Keep going up, and you're going to see another oil barrel, as well as another ornate chest. Let's pick up both of those things as well. Now that we've collected all of the heavy items, let's go into our inventory and look inside all of the ornate chests. You might be able to find some things of use, some good pieces of equipment, or maybe some money. Go ahead and take whatever you want to. Although in this run, our armor doesn't really matter, and in fact, we don't want to go too crazy with good armor because it actually could work against us in the future. So just take some things out if they're valuable, that way you'll have some more money on hand. And then what we want to do is we're going to consolidate all of those heavy things into just one object. So press in the right stick to do a multi-select, grab all the heavy things off of Fane and send them over to the Red Prince. Then we want to take all of those heavy things again, selecting them all at the same time, and we're going to put all of the ornate chests and all of the barrels inside one of the ornate chests. And that will mean that about 2,000 pounds are contained within one treasure chest. The exact amount of weight that you're holding doesn't really matter, it just has to be really heavy. Let's proceed over toward the red flag on the minimap over toward the north. We're going to go down the nearby ladder and we're going to get down to the ground floor. From here, we're going to continue directly up toward the north. Do not go over toward the east, just go straight north to find some vines that you can climb up. This will take us up to a broken bridge. From here, stay a little bit over toward the north side of the bridge as you run forward, that way you can completely avoid a fight that takes place over toward the south. Keep running straight ahead and you're going to want to avoid getting too close to the yellow dots on the minimap, so just kind of go straight in between them as you run forward. As you approach the third yellow dot further toward the east, you'll turn toward the left and you'll start going up a hill toward the northeast. Let's keep following the path up as we go up the hill toward the north, and eventually we're going to unlock yet another waypoint that will be very useful later on.
It looks like these people ran into a magister.
Okay, now that we've discovered this waypoint, we're going to switch control back over to the Red Prince. Let's go into our inventory, select that ornate chest, and send it over to Fane. Now that the Red Prince is no longer burdened by all that weight, we're going to level him up a bit. Let's start by heading over to the Talents tab, and we're going to select the talent Lone Wolf. That way we also start every combat with 6 AP. Then we'll head over to civil abilities, and we're going to put our points into thievery, raising that up to 2. Now let's head over to combat abilities, and we're going to put all the points into scoundrel, raising that up to 6. And finally, we're going to put a few points into intelligence to raise it up to 12, and then all the rest of the points go into wits, raising that to 18. So here you can see the summary of all of that, and then once you're done leveling up, then we want to save the game. Now let's have the red prince start running down the path toward the south. Instead of turning left like what Fane did, keep running straight ahead to move onto a wooden structure. At that point, turn toward the left. Continue forward until you get down to a beach, then turn left again following the shoreline. Let's keep following the path as we go up toward the east, and we're going to go up this hill and pass all these noxious bulbs. Once you see an ornate chest in this area, turn a little bit toward the right and keep following the path. From here, we want to stay over toward the left-hand side, and we're going to follow the path that goes more toward the northeast. Pretty soon, the path will turn toward the right and go more down toward the southeast. We're going to keep following this path, and eventually it branches off toward the left, and we want to follow that left branch. Keep running down toward the south now, and we're going to run straight into some salamanders. It's a very short conversation with them, and then we should have enough wits to go first in battle. From here, we're going to use Chameleon Cloak to turn ourselves invisible. Now that we're invisible, run forward in between the 2 green salamanders, but be careful not to step in the poison puddle. And then from here, turn a little bit toward the left so that we're heading more toward the south, and you want to run along the beach line toward the cave in the back. The enemy can't see us, so they pass their turn, and on the Red Prince's next turn, go forward a little bit further to find the cave entrance, and then interact with it to go inside. We won't be here for very long, but we're going to get something very important while we're here. Let's start by proceeding forward along the path, staying over toward the left-hand side until Trompdoy shows up. Just choose the second dialogue option so that we can move on. Let's go in between these crates, and we're going to run straight across the invisible path. When you get to the other side, the game should autosave, and wait here for just a minute while Chameleon Cloak comes off of cooldown. When you're ready, proceed forward along the path, and soon Trompdoy is going to show up again. We can't talk our way out of this one, so simply end the conversation. But we have enough wit so that we can go first, and we're going to use Chameleon Cloak to turn ourselves invisible once again. If you look at the mini-map, you'll see 2 paths leading over toward the northwest. We want to take the more northern of these paths and just choose a destination along that path that's very far away. You should be able to run all the way out of Trompdoy's sight, and that will conclude the battle. Let's proceed forward along the path and then over toward the right-hand side. We then want to go through this doorway and we'll be in a room with a large statue. Go and talk to the statue and keep choosing the first dialogue option until you get to the time when he says brackets in all capital letters. At that point, choose the first option, finish the sentence with very awful rotten. At your next dialogue choice, choose option 2, a hex, a misery, a blight, a curse. Then keep choosing the first dialogue option, and eventually you can take your leave, and we get enough experience to level up once again. Let's go over toward the east side of the room. We'll go through the doorway and then proceed forward until we can get into yet another fight with Trompdoy. As usual, we have enough wits to go first, so we're going to use Chameleon Cloak to turn ourselves invisible, and we just want to run away again. Follow the path forward toward the east, then turn right to head south, and we're going to make our way over to the staircase. The enemy has no idea where we are, so they're just going to waste their turn, and eventually it's going to be the Red Prince's turn again. We're going to proceed forward along the path, and our goal is to make it all the way to the other end of this treasure room. We're now officially out of combat and we're safe. Let's continue forward along the path going into the treasure room, and once we get to the other side, Tromdoy will show up again, but this time we're just going to talk to him and keep choosing the first dialogue option, and eventually we're going to agree to help him and break his soul jar, which is the second option. At that point, we're going to get a lot of experience and we can choose our reward from the list of options. It doesn't really matter what you choose, just take one thing. We now want to plunder the room, so go around, inspect all of the gold piles and pick everything up. Make sure you grab the heart of the tyrant chest armor from next to this brazier. You can pick up all of the soul jars, however they don't serve much of a purpose. We're not going to do the side quests and we're not going to be able to sell them because you cannot sell soul jars to anyone, but if you want to, go ahead and grab those as well. You can use them to replenish some source points, which might come in handy later, but we're not going to need it. So just go around the room, grab everything that you want to, and there is one item in particular that we definitely have to grab in order to advance the story. And that's going to be on the pedestal over in the middle of the area on the eastern side. It's called the Purging Wand. Make sure you pick this one up. There's also a chest in the middle of the area that should contain many good items. Go ahead and grab everything that you want to out of here. Once you've completely looted this room, we're going to make our way over toward the southwest side of the room. There's going to be a small opening in the wall. Let's go through it, and that will take us out into another hallway. From here, turn toward the right and then interact with the Shrine to the Seven. You're going to keep choosing the first dialogue option. You'll get a little bit of dialogue here, and essentially what's happening is the statue is calling to Fane. It wants it to come over there, and during that period, then the Red Prince is going to be asleep. So just wait a few seconds for the Red Prince to wake up from here, and then you're going to gain the Bless skill on your characters. Alright, that's it for this area. Proceed forward, interact with the lever to disable the barrier in front of us, go through it, and then turn over toward the right-hand side. You're going to proceed forward along the path, and you're going to make your way over to the cave entrance, which is located over toward the southwest. Now that we have a Purging Wand, we basically have what we need to complete Act 1, but there's a little bit more that we want to do. So let's start by heading over to the Hollow Marshes abandoned camp waypoint so that we're right next to Fane. Let's go into our inventory so that we can move a lot of things from Fane's inventory over to the Red Prince. We're going to only keep 5 items inside Fane's inventory. That's going to be any coins that he currently has, the very heavy ornate chest, the Resurrection Scroll, Fane's Journal, and his bedroll that we picked up earlier. Everything else has now been moved over to the Red Prince, and your inventory on Fane looks something like this. After you're done with this, you might want to take a second just to equip Fane a little bit. He has very low armor, both physical and magical armor, so you might have picked up some equipment that could be useful, like the boots that I grabbed after the quest reward with Tromdoy. So I'm going to put that on, but I will not put on the Heart of the Tyrant, because that would curse Fane and that would be bad. If you have any other accessories, feel free to add those as well, or anything else that gives you a little bit of a boost to your armor, but you don't want to go too crazy. Let's switch control back over to the Red Prince and then do a quick save. Once that's done, we're going to go into our waypoint menu and we're going to travel back over to Fort Joy Square. There are 2 items that we want to get here, and they can be a little bit tricky to acquire, which is why we save the game. First off, we want to steal an item from Butter, who's up on this upper platform. They can be a little bit tricky to get behind, and there's also people patrolling around, so you might have to be a little bit patient. Also, look at the minimap and see 2 red dots starting to patrol around this area. You do not want to get spotted by them, so keep your distance. They can patrol all around this area. If you do get spotted, use Chameleon Cloak and head down the hatch to the arena to escape. You'll eventually have your opportunity to pickpocket Butter, and you want to look through the skill books until you can find the Tactical Retreat skill book, and we're going to steal this. Once that's done, we're going to proceed forward, go down the stairs, and you should be able to find Hilda roaming around in this area somewhere. Talk to Hilda, and then press triangle to open up the trade menu. Press R1 to go over to the sell menu, and then sell the Heart of the Tyrant chest armor. That'll get you a lot of gold, and then you can sell off your other items too, except for 2 things, the Purging Wand and the Tactical Retreat skill book, but anything else can be sold. By the time you're done selling all of your items, you should have just about all of her money, so press L1 to go back to the buy menu, and then look through her skill books to find the Cloak and Dagger skill book, and you want to purchase this off of her. Now that we've bought that skill book, we can conclude this conversation, we'll take our leave, then we'll go back to the waypoints menu, and we want to travel back to the Hollow Marshes abandoned camp waypoint where Fane is. Let's select Fane as our controlled character, we'll go into his inventory, and then head over toward the right to go into the Red Prince's inventory, and we'll choose to learn Cloak and Dagger by reading the skill book. And now we have a great movement skill for Fane. After that, we're going to go over to the ornate chest, we want to open it up to look inside, we want to then look inside the backpack, and we're going to grab one Death Fog barrel and send it over to the Red Prince. Don't bother sending the ornate chest over to the Red Prince like what I did, it was a little bit of a mistake. You do, however, want to send the Death Fog barrel from the Red Prince over to Fane, so now Fane should be holding both the Death Fog barrel and the heavy ornate chest. While still controlling Fane, we'll go to the character screen for a very quick level up. We'll put all of our attribute points into Wits, raising that up to 20, and then finally we'll go over to combat abilities, and we'll put some points into Scoundrel, raising that up to 10. We'll make the same selections for the Red Prince, but the totals will come out a little bit different. Scoundrel is going to go up to 8 points, and Wits will go up to 22. Now let's go into the Red Prince's inventory. We want to select the Purging Wand, and we're going to equip it to learn the new Purge skill. That's going to come in very handy right now. Let's head over toward the north. We can go down the stairs a little bit, and we'll see a bunch of red dots pop up on the minimap. We want to take out the 2 red dots over on the left-hand side or over toward the west. So we're going to choose our new Purge skill from the hotbar, and we're going to eliminate the 2 streakers in front of us. One is pretty much straight ahead, and the other one is a little bit over toward the left. The Purge skill does have a short cooldown, and once it's done, then select the skill again, and we're going to eliminate the Shrieker over on the left. And that provides a really clear path for Fane to move forward. We're not going to be killed by those Shriekers now. We'll switch control back over to Fane, go into his inventory, and move the heavy ornate chest over to the Red Prince, but keep the Death Fog barrel. Then we're going to proceed forward with Fane. We'll go past the Red Prince, but we want to stay over toward the left-hand side.
Gods, what is that?
We'll go past the Shrieker's post, and then we want to use our new Cloak and Dagger skill from the hotbar to jump up onto this upper platform just to our north. Once we get up here, I highly recommend quick saving the game because something can go wrong in this next fight, but it's a pretty safe strategy. Once you're ready, proceed forward. You want to crouch down a little bit as you approach, then climb up the ladder until you're right next to the guard up here, who should spot you soon and a fight breaks out. We have enough wits to go first, so what we're going to do is to take the Death Fog barrel from our inventory and put it on the ground right here. All the other enemies have now seen us, so we'll move over toward the edge and use our teleportation skill to grab Bishop Alexander from down below, and we want to teleport him up right next to the Death Fog barrel as close as possible. He should fall into the Death Fog barrel and break it open and kill himself and the other enemy. If that doesn't happen, just reload the quick save and try again. Because we're Fane and undead, we cannot be killed in the Death Fog, so what we're going to do is use the Chameleon Cloak skill to turn ourselves invisible, and that way the enemy has no idea where we are. Then we'll move slightly away from the edge just so that we're not in the exact spot that we were before, and we'll pass the rest of our turn. At this point, the enemy does not know where we are, and that includes the Voidwoken Drillworm who comes up out of the ground now next to the enemies. And this is where things get interesting and a little bit random. The Voidwoken Drillworm will attack the Magisters, and the Magisters will attack the Voidwoken Drillworm. They're just going to battle it out, and we're just going to wait and see what happens. Our best outcome is that the Magisters actually kill that Drillworm. We really don't want the Drillworm to win, and I've seen it go both ways. So again, you have that quick save from before, so just in case something bad happens, you can just reload that save and try again. Now, while the enemies are fighting, there's not a lot that you want to do. You just want to stay invisible and out of the enemy's sight. You want them to believe that you don't even exist so that the enemies just keep fighting themselves. While you wait for the fight to conclude, on one of Fane's turns, you might want to consider looting Bishop Alexander's body just to pass the time. I happen to find a really good item on his body. It's going to be this wand, which does air damage or electric type damage. That's really important for later on. I'm glad I found it, otherwise I'd have to buy it later, but you might have been able to craft one or find one earlier in the game. But you just need one wand that can deal electric damage. Every time you loot something off of Bishop Alexander, it does use 1 AP. Make sure that you don't run out of AP before the end of your turn, because you do want to use the Play Dead skill in order to make yourself appear to be dead. The Chameleon Cloak skill only lasts for 2 turns, but Play Dead lasts for 6 turns, so the enemy will continue to just ignore us for the rest of this fight while they battle it out. There's nothing more that I need to say here, so I will let the fight play out for a bit longer, and this fight will conclude at the 51 minute and 45 second mark. Okay, that was the outcome that I wanted. The Voidwoken Drillworm has been defeated, and all of the Magisters returned to their patrol routes. We can then stand up inside the Death Fog, and the enemy can't see us. And what we're going to do is we're going to use our teleportation skill to grab the enemies off the ground and then teleport them up into the Death Fog to instantly kill them. There is one enemy that often turns invisible. He's over on the east against the wall here. If you don't see him, there is another way that we can get his attention later on, but if you see him, grab him first and throw him into the Death Fog to kill him. At this point, we just have to wait for our teleportation skill cooldown to end, and then we can grab another enemy. Now, if you grab all of the enemies and throw them into the Death Fog, and then Malady's ship does not appear in the harbor over toward the north, it means that that invisible enemy is in fact invisible, and we need to do a backup strategy. What I would then recommend doing is having the Red Prince run forward and go into the corner there where he's going to be spotted. At that point, you should have enough wits to go first, then simply grab him when he becomes visible and throw him into the Death Fog. Even if something really bad happens and the Magister kills the Red Prince, simply grab that Magister, throw him in the Death Fog, and then use a Resurrection Scroll to bring the Red Prince back. Well, here we've come to the end of taking all those Magisters and throwing them into the Death Fog, and at that point, Malady's ship should be coming in. And there you go, my friends. That's how you complete the Bishop Alexander fight very easily and very safely. Let's save the game to lock in our progress, and there should be an ooze barrel up here by us. Let's go ahead and grab that and add it into our inventory. If it does get destroyed during the course of that fight, not a big deal, we don't really need it. And we also want to grab the nearby oil barrel. We then need to make our way down over to where Malady is waiting for us on the ground floor. So head down the ladder, go over to the edge, and we're going to use our cloak and dagger skill to jump down from the ledge to the ground below. We're going to proceed over to where Malady is, and we're going to simply go through the dialogue as quickly as we can, choosing only the first dialogue option, and soon we're going to be teleported over to the Hall of Echoes. There's a path leading over toward the east. Let's take that, and we're going to see a green dot on the minimap. We want to make our way over to that green dot to find a glowing figure. This is our goddess Amadia. Once again, we're going to talk to this character, and we're just going to choose the first dialogue option over and over again until the conversation is over. At that point, we will automatically be brought back to where we were, where we fought Bishop Alexander, now with a new Bless skill at our disposal. Don't talk to Malady at this point, instead go forward and then loot the Voidwoken drill worm, take everything that you can off of it. Once you're done looting, turn left and start making your way along the path over toward the northeast. There are 3 barrels in this area that we want to grab with telekinesis. So we'll start by grabbing the oil barrel up toward the north, and then we can grab this other oil barrel on the upper section. We're now over encumbered and can't move too much, so we're going to move some things over to the Red Prince's inventory just to free up some of our weight. If you press in the right analog stick or the R3 button, you can do a multi-select to grab all those barrels at once, then head over to the ornate chest in the Red Prince's inventory, press square, and then choose Put Into to put all those barrels directly into the ornate chest. There's one more barrel that we want to grab, and it's the water barrel right here, so pick it up, add it into your inventory, and then go stand right next to Malady without actually talking to her. Now let's go back into our inventory, and we're going to move the heavy ornate chest from the Red Prince over to Fane. We also want to send our tactical retreat skill book over to Fane. Let's select that new water barrel from inside Fane's inventory. We're going to select hold in hand, and then we're going to put it into the ornate chest. Fane should now be holding over 2,000 pounds, which is perfect. We're then going to go into our character menu, and we want to level up Fane by giving him some more attribute points. We're going to put all the points that we have into strength. That should raise it up to 24. Then we'll go over to combat abilities. If you want to, you can put a point into Huntsman. That will allow you to learn the tactical retreat skill. Otherwise, just make sure that you've maxed out Scoundrel by this point, and you'll be done with Fane. Then we'll go over to the Red Prince, and we want to level him up as well. Starting with attributes, we're going to put all of our points into Wits, raising that up to 26. Go over to combat abilities, and we're going to raise Scoundrel up to 10. Well, it's time to wrap up Act 1, so we'll switch control back over to Fane, and we should be standing right next to Malady. We're too heavy to move, however, we can talk to her from this location. We'll keep choosing the first dialogue option, and soon this conversation will end, and we will find ourselves on board the Lady Vengeance. At this point, we are all done with the Red Prince, so as we talk to him, he's going to then give us all of the important items that he was carrying, and he'll walk off and we'll never talk to him again. Let's go into Fane's inventory, and we want to select that super duper heavy ornate chest. We're going to choose to either drop the item or throw the item. We just want to move it out of his inventory and into the world. Ultimately, we're going to put it up on top of one of these carvings here, and then we want to move a little bit closer to it so that we can actually move it to a different location. We're going to move it up top onto the platform on this mast, and you just want to put it somewhere in the corner here. Once that's done, we want to turn over toward the west, go up some stairs, and you'll find the body of a dead magister here. Let's loot it, and then we want to read the Sodden Diary. Once that's done, we then can proceed over toward the north. We'll find another dead body that we can loot. There's a lot of really good items here. Go ahead and take everything that you want to. We do, in fact, want to sell a lot of these items soon to get some more money. So once you're done looting him, then head over toward the east. You're going to run all the way along the path until you get into another conversation with Malady.
Welcome aboard.
From here, just keep choosing the first dialogue option until the conversation ends, then go down the nearby stairs. There's a man named Exter walking around in this area. Talk to him and then press the triangle button. He does have the Cloak and Dagger skill book that you can purchase if you want to, but instead of purchasing, I'm going to focus on selling items. There's a lot of good things in our inventory that are worth a lot of money that we can sell. Don't sell the Tactical Retreat skill book if you haven't learned it yet, and if you have a wand that does air damage, don't sell that either. We're going to need it. If you don't have that wand, don't worry, we'll be able to buy one in just a moment. But go through and sell all your things, and if you can, walk away with about 700 gold. That should be enough. Once you're all done selling items and gaining a lot of gold, we can leave this menu, and we want to turn so that we're going over toward the south, and we're going to go down the nearby hatch to go to the lowest level of the ship. From here, we want to start making our way over toward the west. Just keep following this pathway all the way down. From here, we can use our Cloak and Dagger skill to jump over the fence, and that will take us into the area where Bishop Alexander is sleeping. You can talk to Bishop Alexander, keep choosing the first dialogue option to do a strength persuasion that should succeed, and now we can talk to Bishop Alexander again, look closely at his simple regalia, and then slip the gem from around his neck, place it in your pocket. From there, you can simply take your leave. A strange gem gets added into our inventory, and then once Cloak and Dagger is off of cooldown, we'll use it again to go back across the fence. Now we're going to go back along the path, this time over toward the east until we get back to where we started. Then keep going forward through the doorway and interact with the ornately carved portside stateroom door. You're going to choose reach for the doorknob, and then hold the gem you took from Alexander out towards the door. Hold the gem up to it again, and then you want to choose continue, followed by state the password fortitude. That should end the conversation, and now we can go inside the room. Let's move forward until we get into a conversation with Tarkin. We'll keep choosing the first dialogue option, and eventually we'll be in his merchant's menu. If you haven't obtained a wand that can deal air damage yet, I would highly recommend that you purchase one from Targwin at this point. This is pretty much our last stop before we need one in Act 3, so make sure that you get an air wand that we can use later on. You should have more than enough money to do this if you've been good at looting things and selling off items. If you sold things to Exeter and he ran out of money, you can sell more things to Tarquin to get the money you need to purchase that air wand. Then once you're ready, head over to the large desk and you want to take the Dusty Tome and add it into your inventory. You don't actually have to read it, just picking it up is enough. We really shouldn't take any damage in our next fight, but you might want to take a second to go through your inventory and equip anything that might give you some more physical armor or magic armor just to be safe. It would be really a bummer if you happen to die accidentally just because you took a little bit too much damage. Make sure you have a Shiv equipped that can deal backstab damage, that's pretty important, and then if you have any other piece of equipment or accessories that can give you bonuses either to your movement or to your other stats, such as wits, scoundrel, or even telekinesis, those are really good things as well to put on. They're not required by any means, but if you have them, you might as well equip them just to make yourself a little bit better. Once you're done, then head back over toward the west, and we'll go up the nearby stairs. From here, we're going to go a little bit further toward the east and take the stairs up to the top deck. Then we'll head over toward the west again. We're going to go all the way over toward the west so that we can interact with the dragon head of the Lady Vengeance. Along the way, we get stopped for a brief conversation, choose to take your leave, then interact with the Lady Vengeance, and choose the first option to sing the song from the tome you found below decks. This next part is really important, so we're going to slow down a little bit so that we don't make the wrong dialogue choices. When you're talking to the dragon head, you can do really whatever you want to, but eventually you're going to choose to take your leave and be done with that conversation. You will then immediately be talking to Malady. At that point, you want to choose the option be on your way. Don't tell her that you're ready to set sail.
Please don't.
This gives us a moment where we can save the game before the next fight. The next fight isn't really hard if you do it the right way, but there's a little bit of randomness, so if you happen to not have things work out in your favor, just reload the save and then talk to Malady, and now we're going to choose to nod your assent, it is time, and we'll be on our way, and after a short cutscene, we'll be in a fight against Dallas and her minions. This battle begins with a short conversation between Dallas and the cloaked figure. Just keep choosing the first dialogue option, and soon the cloaked figure will use his first turn to cast Meteor Shower on all of our allies, killing them. After that, there's a brief conversation with Malady. Once we're done with that, then the cloaked figure is going to use a spell called Fiery Malediction on Fane, but don't worry, this doesn't do any damage to us. Then Dallas gets to go. She's either going to stay kind of right where she is or just go to the other side of the cloaked figure. It's then going to be Fane's turn, and we're going to use Cloak and Dagger to hop up onto this upper platform right next to our treasure chest. We're then going to use our teleportation skill from our Gloves of Teleportation to grab Dallas, and we're going to move her from her current location to the other side of where we are on the upper platform, right about here. Remember how we killed those saltwater crocodiles a little while ago? We're going to do the same thing where we're going to pick up this very heavy ornate chest and we're going to put it right inside of Dallas's character model, and we just want the outline of that treasure chest to be white. If you hit her, then choose move and drop it right back down where it was. Within a couple hits, you should be able to defeat her. You might miss a couple times though, and if you run low on AP, then use adrenaline to get a little bit more, and then you're able to keep trying. But if you get too low on AP and you don't know if you'll be able to finish her, then just reload the save and try again. But after a couple hits, this fight will be over and we'll be able to move on. After a short cutscene, we'll find ourselves in the Hall of Echoes. During the next conversation, we'll choose to walk on and then end the conversation. We can teleport all the way down to the bottom section if we use our Cloak and Dagger skill. So we'll stand right on the edge of the cliff and we can warp ourselves all the way down below. We want to step into one of the source puddles to gain a source point, and then we're going to cast the Bless skill on Amadia, God of Wizards. This will start a rather long conversation, but we can just keep choosing the first dialogue option over and over again, and soon that conversation will be over. We find ourselves back on the Lady Vengeance, and if we head a little bit toward the left, we can grab the Reckoning, the weapon that Dallas was wielding. Then we'll proceed a little bit toward the north, and we're going to use our Cloak and Dagger skill to hop up onto the upper platform right next to our ornate chest. Our goal is to get one Death Fog barrel from out of this chest, so it might still be in your backpack here. If that's the case, then grab your backpack, then you can open up the backpack from your inventory, and we're going to find a Death Fog barrel. To put the Death Fog barrel into your inventory, select it, press square, and then choose hold in hand. After that, close the backpack by hitting a circle. Select the Death Fog barrel, press square, and then empty hand, and now it's inside of your inventory. Now we're going to select the backpack and then choose drop item to put it out of our inventory and into the world. We'll then select the backpack and choose hold in hand. Then we'll select the ornate chest, hitting square, and choose put into, and now the heavy backpack is inside of our ornate chest. Pretty much the only thing we're going to need for Act 2 is this one Death Fog barrel, so as long as we've got that and we're under our maximum weight, we should be good to go. Let's use our Cloak and Dagger skill again to head further toward the north. We'll drop down next to the stairs, then we'll use the stairs to go down. We then want to use the hatch next to the ornate chest on this floor to go to the bottom level. From here, we're going to head all the way over toward the west side of the area, and we're going to go down some stairs where we'll get into a conversation with Malady. Once you're ready, say you're ready, and then choose continue and end, and we'll move into Act 2. We begin Act 2 with a conversation with Malady. Keep choosing the first dialogue option until that conversation ends. There's a source puddle under where Malady was standing, so go grab it to gain one source point, and then we want to make our way over toward the west. If we stay along the north end of the ship, we're going to soon come to a lifeboat hanging off the side, and we're going to use that boat to travel over to the beach. From the beach, we're going to start running up toward the north, but you want to stay a little bit more toward the right-hand side. Don't worry about running through the poison, it actually heals Fane as an undead. We unlock a waypoint, then we continue following the path over toward the northwest. You want to stay over toward the right hand side so that we don't accidentally get into a fight that we don't want to be in. We want to continue running along this tree line on the north end of the road, and soon you'll see on the minimap a paved gray road. At this point we can turn right and go onto the road, and now we can travel more straight toward the north. We're going to run up past the wrecked caravan, and we can just keep running straight north along the road.
Could have been a shipment to Fort Joy. What happened here?
If you look at the minimap, you'll see a whole bunch of yellow dots on the eastern side of the road, and then a few yellow dots will pop up on the west side of the road. We want to head over toward those west side yellow dots, and we'll be greeted by some guards. From here, we'll just keep choosing the first dialogue option until the conversation ends, and then we'll keep going straight into town, and this will take us into Driftwood. Let's continue forward until we unlock the waypoint inside of Driftwood. We're going to use that later on. Now that we unlocked the waypoint, we can see a yellow flag on the minimap, so let's run over to it, and then we'll turn over toward the right and start running up toward the north. We're going to run right in between these two buildings and continue north until we find ourselves at a broken bridge. When we began Act 2, we were given 2 teleporter pyramids, and we're going to use them to navigate throughout the world. So let's go into our inventory, we'll choose one of those teleporter pyramids, and then choose Throw Item, and we'll throw it across the broken bridge to the other side. Then we want to use the other teleporter pyramid from our hotbar to go to the other teleporter pyramid on the bridge. We'll then pick it up and proceed on our way over toward the northwest. We're going to keep following this road as it curves around toward the north. Ignore the big bridge. We're going to go to a smaller bridge a little bit further toward the north. As you continue following the road, you'll eventually see a small tan line that goes across the river. That's a fallen log that we can use to cross the river and get to a small camp on the other side. As we enter Cloister Wood, we want to continue forward until we get into a conversation with Jahan. It's a lengthy conversation, but we can just keep choosing the first dialogue option, and eventually that conversation will end, we'll get a bunch of experience, and we agreed to help him with a request. Before we go on, drop one of the teleporter pyramids on the ground so that we can come back to the camp very quickly later on. Then continue forward as we head over toward the west. We're just going to keep following the shoreline all the way over toward the far west end of this area. Some speedrunners know a cool trick where they can use their teleporter pyramids and telekinesis to jump over the water all the way to Blood Moon Island, and that saves a little bit of time, but it is more risky because there is a chance that you could lose the teleporter pyramid. We're going to take the safer route and just run over toward the west so that the undead ferryman can take us in his boat across the water. Now this is going to be slightly slower and cost 100 gold, but we do get more experience doing it this way, so I think it's a good trade-off, and it's a lot safer than losing the run to a little trick. Let's head on over and talk to the dead ferryman. We'll then say ask the price, and then tell him you'll pay the price of 100 gold, and we'll be on our way to Blood Moon Island, and we'll get a lot of experience points for getting here. Let's go up the nearby stairs, and then we want to keep heading over toward the east. Just stay over toward the right-hand side, that way you avoid getting into any unnecessary fights that occur slightly toward the north. As you continue along the path, you'll see some yellow dots start to pop up on the minimap. Just start running toward them. One guy will stop you, just choose the first dialogue option a few times to end that conversation, then turn right and head down to the red flag on the minimap. Before we engage with the advocate, we do want to level up Fane a little bit, so go into the character screen and we'll start with his attributes. We're going to put 1 point into Wits, raising that up to 24, and the rest of our points go into Strength, raising that up to 30. We'll skip over Combat abilities and go straight to Civil abilities, and we want to put a point into Telekinesis, raising that up to 5. Here's a summary of all of our choices. Before we have our first and only fight of Act 2, we're going to save the game. Then talk to the advocate and keep choosing the first dialogue option only until you get your second source point slot where you see a bunch of green show up on the screen. At that point, stop choosing the first dialogue option and instead choose the last dialogue option to take your leave. Now we're going to go into our inventory and we're going to find our death fog barrel and we're going to choose to throw the item. We're going to put it right at the corner of the table in between the advocate and the dog. Let's use our teleportation skill to grab the enemy at the top of the stairs, and we're going to do with him the same thing that we did with Bishop Alexander. We'll put him right next to the death fog barrel, which will cause it to explode and kill all the enemies nearby. There's one more enemy that can be slightly troublesome. It's one of the dogs that roams around this area. It could spot us and run closer, but thanks to the death fog, it won't actually get up close to us. Now at this point, we're just going to use the skill Play Dead to trick the enemy. It's going to think that we're dead, and then the combat will end once again. But you can't just get up and start moving around again, because then the enemy will spot you, and combat will begin once again. Even while we're dead, we can still loot the nearby enemies thanks to our telekinesis skill, so select them and then take all of the high value items off of them so that we can sell them later on. You want to loot the body of Bassetan the Wishmaster as well as the Advocate. Once you're done looting the bodies, you want to check to see how your teleportation skill is doing on its cooldown. If it's off of cooldown and you want to, go ahead and engage in combat with that dog again, use teleportation to grab him and throw him into the death fog. You could also use Chameleon Cloak if you're not quite off of cooldown yet. That will turn you invisible and keep you safe from the dog running at you. You can skip killing that dog entirely if you want to, just use the teleporter pyramid inside of your hotbar, and then use it to teleport to the other teleporter pyramid. Then make sure you pick it up off the ground before you head over and talk to Jahan, who should be walking around his camp. Jahan is going to be very happy that we killed the Advocate, and in fact, he's going to give us our third and final source point slot, which we need to advance the story. He's also going to give us a good chunk of experience points, and then we'll be able to conclude the conversation and be on our way. We're getting pretty close to being done with Act 2. There's just a few more things that we want to do, and starting off, we're going to go into our waypoints menu and go to the Driftwood Square. Just to our north is a man named Trader Haran. We want to talk to him and trade with him because he has something very important for us to buy. One of the red skill books is called Enrage. This is a really important skill because we can cast it on an allied character, and that character is guaranteed to land critical hits, and that's super important for making the last fight go by really quickly and really safely. If you don't have enough money though, that's okay. Press R1 to go to the sell tab and then start selling off some of the things you don't need. We don't need the resurrection scroll or the reckoning weapon that we picked up, but you do want to make sure that you're still holding the wand that will deal air damage. This really is the last opportunity where you can purchase one of those weapons from Trader Haran if you haven't gotten one yet. But you should be able to sell off all of your old equipment and get a ton of gold at this point. We got a lot of good things from the Advocate and the other enemies in that area. So sell everything, get a bunch of gold, and then make your purchases. The Enraged skill book, and if necessary, that air wand that can also deal electric damage. Here's one just for reference. Since I already have a good air wand, I'll skip that, and instead I'm only going to purchase the Enraged skill book for 315 gold. That means Trader Haran has more gold, and then we can go back to the sell tab and keep selling some items to him just so that we can walk away with as much gold as possible. At this point, I've really drained out as much gold as what I can from him. He's only got 30 left, so we'll conclude this conversation, and then we want to leave Driftwood by heading out over toward the east. If you watch my previous playthrough of this game as we went through and got all of the other trophies for Divinity Original Sin 2, you'll know that one of the first things that we did when we got to Act 2 was go and meet with Maester Siva. That's actually going to be one of the last things that we do in this Honor Mode playthrough. So once we cross over the bridge toward the east, we want to turn toward the left and we'll start running up the road. Now we don't actually want to go and talk to Maester Siva, that would cause problems for us. Instead, we're going to go behind the Executioner platform over on the right or on the east side, and we'll just crouch down back here where no one can see us. Then we want to go into our inventory, select one of our teleporter pyramids, and we'll choose to throw it. we want to have it land up right by where Maester Siva is hanging. Once again, you're looking for the white outline to clip through the character model. It might not work the first time, and that's okay. We'll use our telekinesis skill to move the teleporter pyramid, and we'll try again. Eventually, we're going to get it to work where the teleporter pyramid lands within Maester Siva's character model, and that will actually kill Maester Siva, and we don't have to talk to them. Then we're going to use our telekinesis to pick up our teleporter pyramid from a distance, and now we're simply going to loot the body. Once we inspect the body, we want to read the Maester's note, and we can learn the combination to her secret basement. If we talk to Maester Siva first, then those Magister guards would be mad at us, and that would cause a problem. So once you get that note, then start heading over toward the west. You can go through the shallow water across the river, and we'll be just outside of Maester Siva's house in Driftwood. We'll go up the nearby stairs, we'll see a small child running around up here, and as we go to interact with the door, we don't actually have the key to get in here, but if we keep choosing the first dialogue option, that child will actually allow us to go inside. So we'll head on into this house. We want to go toward the northeast corner and find the picture on the wall. We want to either pick it up or just choose to move it to place it on the ground. We'll press the button on the wall behind the painting, and that will move the bed. Underneath the bed is a hatch, and we can choose the first option to enter the safe combination, and we'll be able to go down the hatch into the basement. Let's head over toward the red flag on the minimap, and then we'll turn right so that we can go over and find a pedestal containing notes on God-Woken Ascension. We'll read that to learn about a special ritual that we have to complete. Then we'll head over toward the other side of the room, stepping in the source puddle to get a source point. If you need more, just keep using the big picture next to you. Then you can interact with the ingredient cupboard next door, and you can look for the materials you need to complete the ritual. After that, you'll gain a few items, and then we can complete the ritual. Let's go into our inventory and find the item called the Obsidian Lancet. We'll use it to turn it into a Marrowed Obsidian Lancet. We can then select the black root and choose Combine With, and we'll combine it with the Ritual Bowl and the Marrowed Obsidian Lancet to create a Ritual Bowl filled with Bloody Blackroot. Over in the northeast corner of this room, we can find a large square on the ground, and we're going to place that Ritual Bowl onto the ground in the middle of this area. After that, there's a big red wheel called Incinerator Control Valve. We'll spin that to light this on fire. We'll interact with the hallucinogenic green smoke, and we'll travel to the Hall of Echoes. From here, we're just going to keep following the path over toward the south, and soon we're going to see a character appear before us as a green dot on the minimap. We'll head over there and see that it's Fane. Now, it's not really Fane. We're going to keep talking to it and keep choosing the first dialogue option, and then we're going to learn Spirit Vision. After that, we're going to use our new Spirit Vision skill, and that will transform Fane into Amadia. Once that happens, we'll get a little more dialogue, keep choosing the first option, and once that's over, we're going to learn a new skill called Source Vampirism. Our next objective is to use the Source Vampirism skill on Amadia. And then we just have a little more dialogue, keep choosing the first option, and soon that conversation will be over. We can then head over toward the right, interacting with the green smoke once again, and we'll be able to head on out of here. Before we go, if you want to stock up on some more source points, head over to the big green pitcher called Source Fountain. Keep using it to get your source points back. That's all the main stuff that we have to do for Act 2. It was a super short act. Now let's open up our waypoints menu and travel to the Lady Vengeance waypoint. As soon as we arrive, we're going to level up our character once again. So let's go over to the character screen. Starting off with the attributes menu, we're going to put some points into wits, raising that up to 26. We'll also raise intelligence up to 12, and we'll put the rest of the points in strength, raising that up to 34. Moving on to the combat abilities tab, we'll scroll down to find Huntsman. We'll put a point into that, raising it up to 2. Then we'll scroll down a little bit further to find Warfare, put a point into that, also raising it up to 2. You should not assign any more points into this category. Now we'll go over to the Talents tab and we can scroll down to find Bigger and Better. This will immediately give us 2 more attribute points to spend. So we'll take this one and then we can go back over to the Attributes tab and we'll put a few more points into Wits, raising that up to 30. Here you can see the summary of all of our choices. In order to officially end Act 2 and move into Act 3, head to the far west end of the ship where you can find the Lady Vengeance Dragon Head. Let's go talk to the Dragon Head, and if we keep choosing the first dialogue option, then Malady will show up at our location. At this point, we'll talk to Malady, and we want to start by choosing the second dialogue option. Say you've learned what you set out to learn and you know the way to the Nameless Isle. Then you're going to tell her you're quite eager to continue to the Nameless Isle. Now we'll choose the second option, tell her you're done here, it's time to move on. We get a short warning saying that we're going to go to a new area, and we're going to tell her everyone's aboard that's coming aboard, you're ready to set sail, and we'll move into Act 3. Alright, so Act 1 was a little bit over 1 hour, Act 2 was about 15 minutes, and Act 3 is going to be about 20 minutes in length. Let's start by running south along the left or the east side of the ship, and that will soon take us to another life raft hanging off the side, and that will take us to the beach when we interact with it. Let's start by running a little bit over toward the southeast. We're going to see some stairs amongst some trees, and we can go up those stairs to find a nearby waypoint. From this point, we're going to head over toward the right and follow the path down toward the southeast. Don't worry, that earthquake is completely normal, just keep running along the path and eventually it will turn so that you're heading more straight toward the east. As you continue along the path, you're going to start seeing some yellow dots appearing over toward the north or on your left side, and you'll see some yellow dots appearing on your right or toward the south. You definitely want to keep your distance from those dots, because if you get too close, you might be put into a fight that you really don't want to be in. We'll keep going until we get to the next waypoint, and then we'll turn toward the left and start heading straight up toward the north. You'll see a couple of big pillars on the right side, and you want to go right in between them. You'll see a broken staircase in front of you, and you're going to put one of your teleporter pyramids on the ground. From here, we can choose to move it, and we're going to move it across the gap up onto this upper platform. Then we can use our other teleporter pyramid to move over to it. Then just be sure to pick it up, and we can continue forward running past these wolves. Don't interact with them or the large ruby on the ground, just keep running straight ahead to go forward. At the top of the stairs, you're going to discover another waypoint, and then go behind the waypoint, and you can find a pillar. This is going to be called the human pillar, and you want to interact with it. Then head over to the left, and you're going to interact with the first pillar that you come to. This is called the orc pillar. From here, we're going to go diagonally across this area, so go from the bottom left over to the top right, and you're going to interact with the pillar furthest on the right, and this is going to be called the lizard pillar. So once you interact with those 3 pillars, the human, orc, and lizard pillar, then go down by the big barricade over on the east. You want to go into your equipment and switch out your shiv for the wand that can deal air damage or electric damage. Press the right directional button to enter attack mode, and then attack the Eternal Conductor. Once it's shocked and electrified, then you're going to interact with the lever nearby. That will open up the barrier, and now we can use the door to the academy to go into the academy. Now that we're in the Council Academy, we'll take a few steps forward along the path and see a giant monster in front of us. We want to completely ignore him, so let's use Chameleon Cloak to turn ourselves invisible. Now that he can't see us, we'll just run around him and then use the door behind him to sneak around. Keep going forward, and you're going to discover a waypoint in front of you. We'll go just past the waypoint and then turn toward the right. We'll go up a small set of stairs, and then we can go through the door, which will take us into a library. We're going to solve a quick puzzle in here to get a ton of experience. First, turn toward the left and start running along the stairs until you get by a knocked down bookcase. Just to the side of it, there's going to be a pressure plate that clicks when you stand on it. Then head over toward the east side of the room and inspect the pillar to find a button. We can press that button and then turn toward the right to head down toward the south. Before we get to the last desk, we're going to interact with one of the triangular pillars called an unusual tablet. Finally, we're going to turn so that we're heading up toward the north, and we want to run all the way up toward the north until we interact with the lever on the right side of the door on the north wall. Once we do those 4 things, then we get a bunch of experience points and we can head forward to find the staircase. If we go up, we go into the dean's office, getting more experience, and then we want to go over toward the side where we're going to use spirit vision to reveal a spirit walking around. The person that we're looking for is the Spirit of Taryan Grey, so let's talk to her. We'll keep choosing the first dialogue option, and then we're going to go up the stairs behind the door that we just opened. Let's go all the way up the stairs into the Dean's office, and we're going to find a Spirit of Radalis. We'll talk to him, we'll keep choosing the first dialogue option, and then we just want to follow him back to the Spirit of Taryan Grey. Once the spirit stops, we can talk to him, and then we're just going to keep choosing the first dialogue option, and we're going to get a lot more experience and a reward. It doesn't matter what you choose here, just take something and we'll be on our way. When you're ready, we're going to start heading down toward the south, and if we look over on the right, we can find a phase capacitor behind the desk. Let's go and pick that up. Now circle around the desk and keep heading south. There is a door against the south wall. If you go into that, you can find another phase capacitor, and I would recommend picking it up before heading over toward the west and then making your way back over to the waypoint. Ultimately, you're probably going to want 2 phase capacitors, unless you're maybe playing on PC and can aim a little bit faster. I wasn't able to get through this with only 1 phase capacitor using a controller on PS5. But anyway, if you head over toward the north, you're going to see some eternal conductors on the ground, and you want to put a phase capacitor on one of these by choosing throw item, and we can just set it right on top. That's going to shock and electrify it permanently. The wand that we have can electrify the plates on the ground and up on the pillar. Unfortunately, when you go to put your weapon away, you do this twirling animation, and that causes the time to expire on those electrified panels, and we're just not fast enough. So I would recommend getting 2 of those phase conductors, and that will just make things a lot easier. So to find the other phase conductor, if you didn't get it earlier, run forward to the waypoint, and then after you get past that, turn toward the left, go up some stairs, and you'll go through another door that will take you into the teacher's hall. As you enter, there's a large table right in front of you, and then you're going to grab a phase capacitor off that table. Now we can simply return to those electrified panels that we saw earlier. So we leave the teacher's hall going back the way that we came, turn toward the right to go past the waypoint, and then continue following the path all the way up to the north. And now that we're back over here, we're going to place our second phase capacitor on the eternal conductor located on our right. Now that the 2 panels on the ground have been electrified, we're going to use our air wand to electrify the panel at the top of the right pillar, and now we should have enough time to go over to the lever and interact with it before they lose their charge. The barricade is gone, but before we go through it, we're going to do a few things. First, we want to level up Fane because we gained more than 1 whole level thanks to our quick trip into the library. We're going to start with the Attributes tab, and we're going to put all of our points into Strength, raising that up to 38. After that, we go to Combat Abilities. I'm going to scroll down quite a ways until I get to the Warfare category, and I'll dump all the points into that, raising it up to 10. Then we'll go to Civil Abilities, and we'll put a point into Telekinesis, raising that up to 6. That's all that we have to do, so here's a summary of all of our choices. Our next fight is going to require our 3rd and final Death Fog barrel, so let's travel over to the Lady Vengeance waypoint. We need to make our way up to our ornate chest on the upper platform here, so you can either take the ladder that will lead you up, or you can simply use Cloak and Dagger to jump up there. Then we're going to go into our inventory, and we should have skill books for both Tactical Retreat and Enrage, and we now want to learn those skills. If you've been following along, you should have put points into both Huntsman and into Warfare, which will allow you to learn these skills. Now this might sound kind of weird, but you want to choose pieces of equipment to wear that has the lowest physical armor possible. So I currently have 19 physical armor with the sewn scale armor, but I'm going to equip the Druid's robe that has only 9 physical armor, and it also has some boosts to some other stats, which is good. Now we're going to press the R3 or the right analog stick to do a multi-select, and we're going to select all of the items except for 5 things in our inventory. You will not select the coins, the shiv, the bedroll, or the 2 teleporter pyramids, but everything else gets highlighted and selected. Then press the square button and choose hold in hand. After that, you want to press square while looking at the ornate chest and choose put into to transfer everything into the ornate chest. That way we're only holding the essentials. We're then going to grab the backpack from inside the ornate chest and then open up our inventory again. We'll do a quick sort here by pressing in the left analog stick, and then we want to look inside of our backpack to see how heavy the items inside really are. Those big packages in the metal crate each weigh 150 pounds, normal barrels like water and oil barrels weigh 60 pounds, and a death fog barrel weighs 95 pounds. Our goal is to get our weight to under what our limit is, but as high as possible below that limit. The easiest way to accomplish this is to take your backpack and fill it with 1 death fog barrel and then 4 regular types of barrels. So those can be water barrels or oil barrels or ooze barrels. That's going to leave our backpack weighing 335 pounds, which is great. So I'll do a multi-select to grab all of those packages and the metal crate. We'll then press square and choose hold in hand. We can then select the ornate chest and put those heavy items into the ornate chest. Let's go down the ladder and we can find a couple normal barrels on the ground. There's 1 oil barrel on this side of the ship, and then we can head over to the other side of the ship to grab a water barrel. If for some reason you still need another barrel, there is another oil barrel a little bit toward the south. So in our inventory, we can take the 2 barrels we just picked up and put them into the backpack. That will leave the backpack filled with 1 death fog barrel and 4 regular barrels, meaning its total weight is 335 pounds. That is going to be enough weight to finish off the next enemy the same way that we killed those saltwater crocodiles and Dallas. Now we're going to go into our equipment and remove the gloves of teleportation. This is pretty important for the next boss fight for our own safety. We're getting pretty close to finishing Act 3 at this point, and we're going to choose to go into our waypoints menu, and we'll go to the Academy of the 7 waypoint. From here, we want to orient ourselves so that we're facing toward the north, and then we're going to keep running down the hallway until we get back to those phase capacitors that we put on the ground earlier. We recently learned Tactical Retreat, and now we want to put it onto our hotbar. So press triangle, select an empty space, press square, choose skill, and then assign Tactical Retreat to that empty space. We can now use both Tactical Retreat and Cloak and Dagger very easily. Let's proceed forward into the Temple of the Seven. We'll get a bunch more experience points, and then we can talk to the Eternal Arbiter straight in front of us. We're going to choose the second dialogue option, declare that you're ready, then we'll hit continue a bunch of times until the trial begins. Our goal is simple, move from our starting location all the way forward until we get to the Wellspring of Ascension. Now pay attention because this is really important. Go very slowly through the dialogue. When you end the conversation with the Eternal Arbiter, you'll be talking to Bishop Alexander. Go very slowly, and then when it shows end as your next choice, you want to quick save the game. Do not end this conversation or you're probably going to die. Once you quick save the game on this dialogue screen, then quick load the game after that. Normally what happens is Bishop Alexander gets the first turn in battle, but when you save and load at this point, it's going to bypass his turn and now we get to go first. We now want to make a mad dash for the Wellspring of Ascension, starting with using Cloak and Dagger to go as far forward as possible. Then we're going to use Tactical Retreat to again jump as far forward as possible, but stay a little over toward the left side of this barricade. We now also have the Hasten status effect, and we'll use it to run really fast all the way to the Wellspring of Ascension, completing this in just one turn. All that's left is to interact with the Wellspring itself. That's going to trigger a cutscene. Dallas shows up, and then everyone else, including Bishop Alexander, shows up. Just keep choosing the first dialogue option through this whole section. Bishop Alexander gets killed, and then Dallas and all of her cronies will retreat after we tell them off.
Don't waste any of that.
When they retreat, we're going to be knocked down. I would recommend quickly getting back up and going over to Bishop Alexander's body, because you can actually loot it, and then if you press triangle, you'll take all the items off of him at once, which is good because you have a very limited time to take the items that you want. We're coming up on our next boss fight, and it's really not that difficult. We just have to get a little bit lucky and have things go our way. We also want to do a little trick during the conversation that we're going to have before the fight, so I would recommend doing a quick save just in case you make a mistake. You can reload the save and try again. From this point, we're going to head over toward the east. We'll see a yellow flag up on the minimap, and we want to head in that direction to begin the conversation. Throughout this conversation, we can keep choosing the first dialogue option. That will get us all the way to the end of the conversation. However, we do not want to conclude the conversation. Just like when we were talking to Bishop Alexander, we want to stop when it says end on the screen. And at that point, we're going to do another quick save, and we're going to do another quick load right after that. Just like with Bishop Alexander, the embodiment of Amadia is scheduled to go first in this fight, which is very bad for us. But if we quick load on the last line of dialogue, then we're able to actually take the first turn in combat, which we definitely need. We then want to place our heavy backpack on the ground. I would choose to just throw it forward, and we're going to try to get it so that it has a white outline while still being inside of the enemy's character model. Let's keep moving this backpack over and over again, slamming it down on top of the enemy, and once they get down to about half of their health, then we'll move on to the second phase of this fight. The enemy is currently equipped with an exact copy of all of our armor, which is why we wanted to lower the physical armor for the things that we were wearing. That way we're dealing more damage with this backpack. After the enemy has gone through half of their health, they'll transform into a Source Titan. At this point, we're going to switch our tactic. Let's grab our backpack from the ground, and we'll just choose to pick it up and add it back into our inventory. Now let's go into our inventory, and we're going to open up that backpack. We'll find the Death Fog barrel inside, and we'll choose to throw that item. Let's put it down right in front of the Source Titan. From here, we simply have to attack the Death Fog barrel, and that will cause it to explode, instantly killing the Source Titan. Sometimes things are a little bit weird with the Death Fog where it won't actually kill an enemy inside of it. If that happens, just reload the save and try again. Once you've successfully killed the Source Titan, go ahead and loot everything off of its body. All that's left is to make our way over to the red flag on the minimap while avoiding the fire that's raining down all around us. When it's Fane's turn again, we'll do a quick save just for safety, and the quickest way to get to that red flag is to use our movement skills like Cloak and Dagger or Tactical Retreat. From our starting position, we can just hop up onto the ledge in front of us over toward the east. Then we're going to use our other movement skill to move over the fire, and that will get us close to the beacon in front of us. We can interact with Malady's beacon, and we'll get out of here. Once again, we're on the Lady Vengeance talking to Malady. Keep choosing the first dialogue option until that conversation ends. Then we're going to make our way all the way over to the south end of the ship. Once we get over here, we want to go and interact with the Lady Vengeance Dragon Head. Let's choose the first dialogue option, ask the Lady Vengeance to summon Malady. That, of course, will summon Malady to our location. And then we want to talk to her. You can just keep choosing the first dialogue option over and over again, and then eventually you're going to agree to go to Arcs, and we'll enter Act 4. Act 4 is also pretty short. It only takes about a half hour to complete this one. From the starting location, we're going to go out onto this rocky outcropping, then use one of our movement skills like Tactical Retreat to hop down onto the bridge over toward the northwest. Then we're going to use our other movement skill to go to the other bridge further toward the north. Let's keep heading up toward the north, and we're going to enter the harbor area. We'll continue going north and a little bit toward the west. There's going to be 2 exits from this area on the western side. Skip over the first one and instead go to the one further toward the northwest. We'll take this exit and start running along the path through the woods. We'll come to a large intersection on the minimap. Go just beyond that until the path narrows between some rocks, and then you want to start to crouch and sneak through this area because there are some enemies lurking around. We want to head over toward the shoreline, keeping out of the enemy's line of sight. If we stay behind this large rock, they shouldn't be able to see us. Now we're going to go into our inventory, and we want to select one of our teleporter pyramids and choose Throw Item. We're going to place this teleporter pyramid in the water where it's still outlined in white. It can be a little bit hard to see, but just somewhere in the shallow water over here is fine. We'll then select to move it, and we want to move it toward the far shore over on the north. Now there is going to be a boat over in this area. You might be able to put it on the boat, or you might want to find a place on the shoreline over here where it's outlined in white, move it over there, and then simply teleport over to this teleporter pyramid. If you choose to pick up the teleporter pyramid, you'll automatically walk to a spot that the game considers to be within the bounds of the normal map. Although we're technically within the bounds of the map, we're still not connected to the main continent here, so we're going to take a teleporter pyramid and put it back on the ground next to us. Then we want to choose to move it a little bit further over toward the east so that it joins the main part of this landmass. And then we'll simply teleport over to it, and we've made it all the way into Arcs. This bypasses a gigantic fight that we don't want to do. We can then take the vines up, and then we'll stick over toward the left-hand side. We're going to use one of our movement skills to go from this rock all the way over to the opening on the left. From here, we're going to proceed forward. We can climb up the ladder on our left, and then we can use another one of our movement skills to head over the barricade, and we'll be on the main street. We'll stick over toward the left-hand side, and we're going to run over to the main road of Arcs. You should see a whole bunch of yellow dots on the left or the southern side of the road. Keep running past that a little bit to get to this intersection, then turn left, and you're going to soon find a waypoint along the road. It should be a little bit over on the western side. Now that we've discovered the waypoint, we want to go a little bit further up toward the north. Once you get to the intersection, turn left and you should find a trader called Fionola nearby. Let's talk to her and choose to trade. Let's start by going to the Sell tab by pressing the R1 button, and we can sell off a lot of our items that we've collected that we've been looting off of bodies like Bishop Alexander's. We should be able to get a lot of money for selling these items to the vendor. Then once you've sold your items, you'll want to go back to the Buy tab. If you haven't purchased the Enrage skill book yet, you definitely want to buy it at this time and learn this skill. That's very important for the final boss fight. As long as you can leave this shop with about 3,000 gold, that should be more than enough. We now need to find a way to get past the trial of the Path of Blood. That requires us to have a perfectly sinless party member, and we don't qualify for that. But we can purchase one if we head over to the Hall of Echoes waypoint. That will take us on board the Lady Vengeance. Let's head a little bit over toward the east where we can talk to Sergeant Zarilla. We'll keep choosing the first dialogue option, and the amount of money that you have to spend depends on your character's level. For me, that was 2,180 gold, and now we have a new party member who's completely sinless, who can pass the trial of the Path of Blood. We don't have to do any levels up or anything with him. We'll just put our party members together, and then we'll head back to the real world. Let's go to the Arcs City Square waypoint, and then we just have to make our way all the way up toward the north. In order to successfully complete the trial of the Path of Blood, a character needs to meet 4 specific requirements. First, that character cannot have killed anyone. Unfortunately, we don't qualify with Fane for that because we have in fact killed some people in this run. Number 2, we cannot have stolen anything with that character. I'm pretty sure we haven't stolen anything with Fane, so we would qualify in that category. Third, you cannot serve the Void, which means you cannot have a pact with the God King. We have not, in fact, made that pact, so Fane qualifies there. And finally, you cannot have stolen the source from any mortal, which we haven't done that either. So I think we meet the qualifications for 3 out of those 4 requirements. It's just the fact that we've killed people that means that we don't qualify with Fane, and that means we had to hire that minion to go along with us. So as we approach Brother Lyle inside the cathedral, we'll just choose the first dialogue option and then proceed forward. We'll get a little cutscene where a woman runs ahead, the door slams in our face, we can't go through, but eventually she dies. We switch our control over to our minion and we're going to be controlling him for the next trial. As soon as the door is open, we'll proceed on through, and then I would definitely recommend that you save the game before you interact with the statue in front of you, just in case you make a wrong decision. You can quickly reload the save and then you're able to continue on and try again. So interact with the statue with your minion, who should be completely sinless, meeting all 4 of those requirements. Take a deep breath, tell it you're ready, and then for the first question, you say, tell it you would never steal from another. For the second question, you want to choose the option that says, tell it you do not kill the innocent. And in fact, we haven't killed any innocent people with this character. Then you need to scoff, you would never do such a thing, like serve the Void. And finally, swear that you have always respected the source of others, because we have not stolen the source from anyone on this character. Once you answer all 4 questions correctly and you don't die from the statue, then you're going to get a new status called Pure, and you're also going to grow some wings, and now you can fly around. You actually gain a new ability called Flight. We want to go down the climbable rocks nearby, and then we're going to go down this hatch to go to the lower area. We enter the Crypt of Lucian, and this is going to be a large puzzle room. Let's start by moving over toward the north end of this area. When you get to the middle of the area, go up the stairs, and you want to go all the way as far toward the north as possible. Once we get up here, we'll switch control of our character over to Fane, then head further north, interact with the shiny altar, and then choose the second dialogue option to begin solving the pipe puzzle.
In the space beyond.
Normally the puzzle screen is pretty dark, but I'm going to brighten it up for you so you can see it easier. I'm not going to narrate through all of the different rotations here, but you can simply follow along. I'm also posting the full solution at the 1 hour, 53 minute, and 30-second mark, so if you want to skip ahead to that, that's going to show where each of these pieces needs to be aligned, and once you match that, then you can proceed on. So feel free to skip to the 1 hour, 53 minute, and 30-second mark, and I'll see you at that point. This is the correct solution to the puzzle. You need to make sure that all of your pipes are lined up exactly like the pipes are shown on the screen right now. That will allow you to successfully complete this puzzle, and we'll be able to move on. So pause the video now if you need to, arrange all the pipes correctly, and then once you're ready, proceed onward. Once you've set up your pipes this way, press circle to quit the puzzle, and then we're going to proceed onward by leaving the altar alone. We then want to switch control over to our other character, the one with wings, and we're going to put him right on top of this pipe in the area. At that point, we'll go into our equipment screen, and we want to remove all of the equipment from him, so just unequip everything that he's currently holding. Now that he's completely without armor and standing on the pipe, we'll switch control over to Fane. We then want to go into his equipment and switch out the weapon that we're currently holding for the shiv that we got a very long time ago. Also, be sure to re-equip the gloves of teleportation on him. I didn't show it on screen, but make sure you do it. It's really important. At that point, we're going to attack the minion on top of that pipe, and that will cause him to start bleeding. There's now a whole bunch of blood in the pipe, and it drains all the way down to the bottom section. We then want to use our bless skill, and we're going to bless the blood on the ground that's on top of the pipe. Don't bless the pipe directly, bless the blood. That blessed blood flows through the pipe all the way to the bottom of the area. Now we'll interact with the altar and choose the first option, and the blood and other things on the southern end of the screen are going to start making their way through the pipes that we arranged all the way up to the north. While that happens, it's a good time to get Fane another level up. So let's start with the attribute points. We're going to put everything into wits, raising that up to 38. Don't worry about putting any points into any combat abilities or anything else. We only wanted to put points into wits, raising that up to 38. Let's give it a few more seconds for this puzzle to conclude, and after that we're going to get an automatic cutscene where a sarcophagus just to our south will start to move, and that's going to reveal a hatch.
A blessed stone altar. The coolest.
Alright, let's leave that altar alone, and we're going to make our way down toward the south where we can find that sarcophagus and the newly discovered hatch. We use the hatch to go down another level, and we'll find ourselves in the Line of Anguish. Let's proceed forward toward the north until we get to the large door at the end of the area. Before we go through the door, there's a few things that we want to do. First, we're going to separate our party members and select to control our minion. We then want to take a moment to re-equip all of the pieces of armor and weapons and accessories, everything that can give him more defense so he's able to take a hit if necessary. Then go to the character screen, tab over to the talents tab first, and we're going to assign 2 talents to him. The first and most important one is going to be Lone Wolf. That means he'll have 6 AP every turn, and that's absolutely critical, so make sure he has Lone Wolf. And then you want to give him another talent, such as Bigger and Better or All Skilled Up. I'm going to choose All Skilled Up. We now have 1 civil ability point. I'll just put it into sneaking. It doesn't really matter though. And then we'll go to combat abilities. You can either choose perseverance for more defense, or you can go to scoundrel for a little bit more movement. Either one of those is perfectly fine. We'll then save the game just for safety, and then we'll proceed forward, interact with the door, keep choosing the first option, and soon that conversation will end, and you'll be able to go through the door with only the henchman. You want Fane to stay on this side of the door. You can sneak if you want to, otherwise we're just going to slowly move over toward the railing on our left or over on the west. Once you get to the corner of the railing, don't go any further. Instead, use your flight skill to jump all the way down to the bottom section here, right by the lever against the wall. This will begin a fight, and one of the monsters is going to start running around in this area, and hopefully he runs the opposite direction of you. It's now our turn, and we're going to start by using the lever very close to us called Empathy. After that, we'll go through the doorway, and we want to interact with the Wisdom lever, which is against the pillar. This will cost about 3 AP to get to. So let's move over here and we'll interact with that lever, and we'll have pulled 2 levers already. Then we're going to use our flight skill again, and we're going to go further over toward the east. We're going to go right before the gap, and there's going to be another lever against the wall nearby. We can interact with the potency lever, and that's going to be 3 out of 5 levers flipped on our very first turn. We're also so far away from the enemies that they have to use all of their AP to try to run and get close to us, which means they won't be attacking us on this turn. But even if for some reason they do attack you, you should be able to survive no problem. And even if the minion dies, it's not a big deal at this point because we can still finish the puzzle with only Feign. Once all the enemies complete their turn, it's going to be our turn once again. We're going to use our flight skill, and we're going to go as far over toward the east as possible. We're going to put ourselves right in this corner. After that, we're going to head over to the far wall, and we can use the order lever. Now at this point, I don't have enough AP to make it all the way to the final lever, but that's okay. I can use Feign to get that one. We got 4 levers flipped with our minion, and Feign will finish off the last lever himself. So we'll switch over to him. We want to first start by talking to the door a couple times, and then we're not going to go through the door first. We're going to use our chameleon cloak skill to turn ourselves invisible.
Careful. I've spotted a trap.
Once we're invisible, we'll then go through the doorway and then over toward the right. We can use one of our movement skills like Tactical Retreat or Cloak and Dagger to hop down to the floor below, and then we're going to simply interact with the Righteousness lever nearby. All 5 levers have now been flipped, and that will complete this section. All the enemies disappear and the traps are disabled. After we get our party members back together, we're going to continue forward until we can turn toward the right, and we're going to take the long hallway all the way up toward the north. This hallway takes us to where the final boss is, and I know you're excited to see how that fight plays out. Along the way, we talk to the Cold Crawler Voidwoken, keep choosing the first dialogue option to complete that conversation, and before you go down the stairs, we're just going to pause a moment to rearrange our hotbar just a little bit for that final fight. We don't need the Bless skill, so I'm going to remove it, and in its place, I'm going to take the Enrage skill that we learned earlier from the skill book that we purchased. So let's get rid of Bless, and in its place, we'll put Enrage. You also want to be sure that you have the Adrenaline skill as well as the Time Warp skill on your hotbar, because we'll be using both of those skills as well in addition to Enrage. Once you're all organized, then we're going to save the game. We do have an important dialogue choice to make soon, and if we screw that up, we can always just reload the save and try again. Then we'll proceed forward and go down the stairs. Move forward a little bit, you'll get knocked down by Malady and some of our friends. You can simply choose to go through this dialogue quickly, and then we'll be on our way. There's a bunch of yellow dots on the minimap, and we're going to go over there and have a conversation with them. For the most part, it doesn't matter what you choose in this conversation until the very end of it. So keep choosing the first dialogue option, and eventually you'll want to slow down, and then you'll choose the last dialogue option. There's many opportunities to basically tell them to stop talking, we've heard enough, cry out in frustration. Any of those are just fine. And then the next time you have to make a choice, you're going to again choose the last option to wave them along. This is enough. And then you have to make a very important decision. You'll say, "You shall have your sacrifice. I surrender my source for the good of all of Rivelin." Choosing this option allows us to bypass the entire first phase of this fight, and we're also going to get almost everyone here on our team. The only enemy that we have to face is Brachus Rex, as well as some enemies that he summons in, but they're not going to be a problem for us. So let's jump straight into phase 2 of the fight. The fight begins with Brachus Rex teleporting away from us, and he's also going to summon the Kraken. The Kraken, in turn, is going to summon 3 helpers for him, but we're far enough away that none of them are able to reach us, and if they can't reach us, they can't hurt us either, which means we're still perfectly safe for this first round of combat. The Kraken summons the Sallow Man, Lord Linderkem, and Isbiel. Now they can move really far and they can get really uncomfortably close to us, but they're still not able to attack us, and that's just fine. Isbiel has very little movement speed and doesn't pose a problem for us, but the Sallow Man can run way over to our group. He can use Airborne Plague to inflict plague on many people, but not on us because we're out of range. And then he can run all the way over next to us, but again, he can't attack us directly. Lucian the Divine can buff our teammates, which is great, and then he's going to make his way over to where Brachus Rex is. It's Fane's turn now, and we have to make the most of this turn. So let's begin by using Tactical Retreat. We're going to jump right over the enemies that are close to us, and we'll get as close to Lucian as we can. Next, we're going to cast Enrage on him. This is going to allow him to automatically get critical hits with all of his basic attacks and weapon skills. We're going to use him to murder Brachus Rex for us. It has a very short range to it, so you might have to use one more AP to get a little bit closer, and then use Enrage on Lucian the Divine. Now that he's enraged, we're going to use our Adrenaline skill to give ourselves 2 more AP. We're then going to use Time Warp on Lucian the Divine. That will give him 2 turns in a row to attack. We then want to use our teleportation skill from the Gloves of Teleportation to move Lucian the Divine right next to where Brachus Rex is. That way he won't have to waste any of his AP moving, he can just spend all of his AP attacking for critical hits while he's enraged. Dallas is going to move away from the enemy, turn into her dragon form, which is really impressive looking, but actually doesn't really do a whole lot for us. She's basically going to end her turn without attacking anybody. Then it's going to be our henchman's turn, and we're going to use him to fly over close to where Fane is. So let's use the flight skill to go around those enemies, and we'll move pretty close to where Fane is. We're then going to move right up next to him, and we've got some skills like Fortify that we can use just to give ourselves a little bit of armor, and that's a little bit of protection just in case we need it if the enemy gets a chance to attack, but they probably won't be able to. There's nothing more that we have to do, so we'll simply pass the rest of the turn, and then some of our allies will get to act. Sometimes they're going to be smart and move forward and attack Brachus Rex. Every little bit of damage helps, so I certainly don't mind this. And one of the most important characters is actually going to be the Geist that's roaming around. He can actually move right up close to the enemy, and he's going to be able to backstab Brachus Rex for some extra damage, and we definitely want to see that, especially a critical hit. And this is where things can go really well or really disappointingly. Lucian is going to use all of his turns attacking. The first round he has guaranteed critical hits from Enrage, and then he gets his second turn of 3 more attacks, and you want to see at least 1 critical hit in the group. If that happens, then the enemy should be defeated, and you basically win the game. If necessary, you could always reload the game and then try again. Eventually it's going to work for you. Now that the battle is over, we have a brief conversation. After that, we have another conversation, and you want to choose the second option, where you give your swords back to all the peoples, release divinity into the world. When everyone is divine, no one is divine. That's going to bring us to the closing section of the game, and we find ourselves after the cutscene aboard the Lady Vengeance. The hard part is over. Now all we have to do is run all the way to the south end of the ship, where we're going to find the dragon head of the Lady Vengeance. The only thing we have left to do is we're going to go and talk to the dragon head, and we're going to keep choosing the first dialogue option until the game ends. At that point, we gain multiple trophies at the same time. The only one that displays is For Honor, but we also unlock all the other difficulty trophies for completing the game, and we also get the Deity trophy, which is our glorious platinum trophy. Well, congratulations, my friends, we did it. We've earned all of the trophies for Divinity Original Sin 2. I hope you enjoyed this guide as much as I enjoyed making it for you. If you did, please hit that like button as it really does help me out, and consider subscribing so that you can join our amazing community and so you can stay up to date with the other projects and guides that I have in the future. If you have a suggestion for a game that you'd like to see me make a guide for or a topic for another video, then please leave that suggestion down in the comments. I'm always open to new ideas and new suggestions for games or topics. And finally, we have a quick confirmation that we've completed all of the trophies for Divinity Original Sin 2 Definitive Edition, including the Platinum Trophy called Deity. Thank you all for coming along on this journey with me, and a special thank you to all of our channel members. I'll see you soon in the next guide. Until then, thanks for watching and have a good day.